Welcome. In this module, I am going to show you how to set up the development environment on your master machine, because starting from this module you will be working on some Java code. Before you work on Java code, you need to set some environment. First thing you need to do is you need to download Eclipse for 62-bit Ubuntu Linux, and once you download it on your Windows machine, you can even directly download on your Unix box. So if you have it on your Unix machine, you can copy this tar file to the master VM. So I am opening this home directory and I have copied the Eclipse. Control paste. You can always copy paste from Windows to the VM. So I have pasted this Eclipse here and I have extracted the Eclipse. Also, you will be able to download the workspace from my website waytolearn.co.in. So you can copy this workspace also into the VM. I have copy pasted the workspace tar into this VM and extracted it to this folder. Then what you can do is you can open Eclipse by clicking on this icon, and when it prompts for workspace, you just point to this directory home/siva/workspace. So Eclipse should start with this workspace. Remember, just switch the workspace to point to this workspace directory. Don't try to import the projects, you may get some errors. Okay, so once you switch to the workspace, you can see all the projects which are grouped here. For each and every project in the workspace, there will be one solution project which contains the full solution, and one start project on which you have to work. So start project may have some files already which are written. You need to follow the documentation given to you. I hope you might have downloaded the documentation by now. Let me just show you. For every module you can download the corresponding documentation, and following the steps in the documentation, you need to complete the start projects. But for the first time, when you have switched to this workspace, you see that all the projects will be showing some errors. These projects are Maven projects. So all the dependent jars for this Maven project are described inside pom.xml. So if you have worked with Maven earlier, you might be knowing that Maven will manage all the dependent libraries. You just have to declare your dependent libraries in pom.xml. And for the first time, Maven will download the dependent jars. You might have configured the dependent jars here. Maven will download all these dependent jars for the first time. But there is one problem which you might be facing. If you remember, we have configured a static IP. So if you have configured static IP, your Ubuntu machine will not be able to connect to internet. So what you may have to do is you just have to go to again open Genie. I am just opening Genie and open file. Open. What you can do is you can go to etc/network/interfaces and open the interfaces file. This is the interfaces. So while installing this 2-node cluster, you might have followed this documentation and have configured the IP, static IP. Let me just open this. Yep, you might have followed this step and configure the static IP by just configuring like this. So what you have to do right now is you just have to delete whatever you have done. So your file might look like this if you have already configured the static IP. It might look like this. You just have to remove this and then reboot your machine. Then only you will be able to connect to internet. Okay. Then only Eclipse will be able to download all the jars required for the first time. And one more thing you need to do is, as these are Maven projects, if you are still seeing errors on the project, what you may have to do is you have to right click on the Java project, go to Maven, update project, and select all projects, and there is an option called as force update. Okay, just select this force update, so it will force for downloading the jar files and say OK. Then all the jars should be downloaded and you should see your workspace clean like this. Okay, so these are the setups you need to do. And one more thing is, after all the jars have been downloaded and if you see that the project is not having any errors, don't forget to go back to Genie, or even you can open it from the command prompt as well. Don't forget to go back, and in this interfaces file don't forget to copy paste again the code for static IP. Okay, then once this is done, you just need to reboot the machine by issuing sudo reboot. Before rebooting, one more thing I want to do is, you must have downloaded the data folder which contains some sample data which will be analyzing throughout our course. This data folder you can download and copy this data folder into my home directory. Okay, so we will be working on this data present inside this data folder. So these are the steps to make you ready for the next modules. I am issuing a reboot. The machine will be rebooted. So that's all. You are ready to go ahead with the next module and you'll be able to execute Java programs as well.